Hi, today we're going to meet people from the Shaw Trust, who are a not-for-profit social enterprise who help people get back into employment. I'll let them tell their story and introduce themselves, but what I'm really interested in sharing with you today on Learning Now TV is the story of how we get people into our organisations, thinking about our corporate environments. How do we onboard? How do we welcome people in, and how do we welcome them in well? Well, people that really know how to do that well, we've got Lisa Bateson with us, and we've got Squire. So Lisa, introduce yourself. What do you do, and what is the Shaw Trust?
Hi, I am a learning and development business partner. I work for Shaw Trust. The part of the organisation I'm responsible for is primarily our employability sector, and one of the things which we worked on recently over the last 2 years has been bringing on board people to work on our Jetz contract.
So Jetz, what's Jetz?
Jetz is our job entry targeted support program. It's something which the Department for Work and Pensions put in place as a targeted intervention for those made unemployed as a result of the COVID pandemic. So it was a rapid response to all the people we saw losing their jobs as a result of lockdown.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm really looking forward to hearing your story and thinking about how we can continue that great work, which I know was shortlisted for an LPI award, and see how we can translate some of that to ongoing work. But we do have Kira with us. Kira, what's your role in all of this?
So I actually started Shaw Trust as an employment advisor. So I actually went through our induction, and that was in February 2021. And then in June 2021, I actually secured a secondment position in the learning development team. So I'm now a learning development trainer, and I've just actually finished off our last inductions for our last cohort.
So you have actually been through this programme and had the lived experience of coming out the other end into a different role, which is excellent. I'm really pleased that you're here to join us today. So Lisa, thinking about this rapid response, what was it? Do you want to just give us a brief précis of what happened, and what's the story?
I think the key word there really is rapid. We had 6 weeks between being notified that we were successful in bidding for the contract which the DWP put out there, to going live. So I think it was the 29th of August we found out, and we went live on the 5th of October was our first induction, and they started in their roles 2 weeks later on the 19th of October 2020. So we had to work really, really quickly to start from scratch with creating an induction program. And if you think about project planning, we're sort of at the end of the project plan. So behind us are a whole bunch of critical success factors like recruitment, ICT, making sure that the information systems that the people working on the program are going to use are actually designed and developed, that the processes and procedures are written up. So all of that work had to be done, particularly the information systems and the processes and procedures, because a lot of it was our training collateral, which we had to then train out to our new starters.
So just let me really understand, the new starters that you're talking about, these are people who've been claiming unemployment benefit, they're unemployed, or who are these people?
The new starters I'm talking about are the people that we employed to deliver this contract. So they predominantly are employment advisors, and we've welcomed them to Shaw Trust to work as part of the organisation to support the people who had been made unemployed as a result of the pandemic back into employment. So supporting people who claiming benefits had been unemployed for a minimum of 13 weeks, and which the job centres referred to us for further support to quickly get back into work.
So your end-to-end recipients are unemployed as a result of COVID, but your induction program was for people who were going to be helping those. Now, an induction program into a role which is brand new, because of course you hadn't done any work with people who'd been made redundant or lost their jobs due to COVID, and dealing with that very quickly. How did you do that so quickly? What were the key learnings that you could share with others?
We're really fortunate in our organisation, and I think learning from bitter experience, that we've got fantastic project management set up. So our project manager was amazing at making sure that all the different work stream leads coordinated with one another to get our project deliverables in place in time. So for learning and development, that was making sure we had our course content written, that our induction program, we'd designed it, we knew what was happening on day 1, on day 6 and day 14. And in terms of getting that content together, we worked with different subject matter experts, and we made sure that the senior decision makers at the head of employability, into which this project ultimately reports into, signed off on what we wanted to achieve through the induction. And in speaking to him, I asked him questions not around, okay, so we know we need people, we know that people need to know the skills and the knowledge in order to do their jobs, but we also spoke about what we want it to be like to work on Jetz as part of Shore Trust. What are the kinds of attitudes and beliefs, what's sort of the ethos behind it that we want people to have, so that we can also instill that into the induction program and help to set that up for people. Because we recognize what was unique about this program, and I haven't mentioned it yet, is that Jetz, the support provided to unemployed people, would be delivered completely remotely for the first time ever. So no going to a job centre and speaking to an advisor. All the meetings and the contact would happen over Teams or over the phone. And so all of the new people we were recruiting would be working from home, home-based, working remotely. They've yet to meet in person, 90% of them. So those are some of the key things we thought about.
It's like a tick list of how to do a project well. You start with a really strong project plan. You've got your stakeholders engaged and on board. You're clear on what the content needs to be. You're clear on how you're going to deliver that content. And I absolutely love that you layered in this kind of behavioural piece. What does it feel like? What's the ethos of our organisation that we want to get across to the people who'd be working on this programme? So, Kira, you were a recipient of this induction programme. How did it feel? Did it come across that it had been put together in a few weeks, or did it look like a really polished stone? Be aware of Lisa now being your boss, but speak honestly on behalf of Learning Now TV.
No, it's one of those things where I was actually headhunted for Shore Trust, and I'd worked in employability before, and I'd heard of the Jetz program, and I was very, very nervous, but also very confident because I'd done research on Shore Trust and what Jetz was and what our goals were. And that first day of sitting there and getting that welcome, and you've got everyone else around you in that cohort, until I was actually told when I was in the learning development role, we actually only did this over 6 weeks. I sat there gobsmacked thinking, really? That's all you had? Because it's a fantastic induction program, and it's hard to fault what we actually did and what I actually saw as part of that program. And there's very little thing in there that I could actually fault with what I received and what my cohorts and my inductees had when we were going through that 2-week induction. It was absolutely fantastic.
I mean, that's great to hear. It must be great for you to hear as well, Lisa. But it is great to hear. And I think it sits in that behavioural piece, the fact that you really wanted to welcome people in, and that's certainly something that we can take away to other areas of learning and development and the projects that we're working on. Now let's briefly, because we're running short of time, but briefly come back to the remote piece. Do you think it would have been better, and I'm going to ask this question to Kira first, do you think it would have been better had you been in person? Because now in the hybrid world, everyone's doing this debate. Should we be in person? Should we be online? Would it have made any difference, do you think, Kira?
I think with certain aspects, actually getting to meet your team on day one, so like the people you're actually starting that induction with over the next 2 weeks, and also meeting your team leaders, I think, yes, that would have been a nice aspect of seeing them face to face and have that better connectivity. I've been lucky enough to actually meet Lisa, and that's only helped us understand one another a lot more. And I'm hoping that we can get that a bit more in the teams. But ultimately, I think we've absolutely smashed this induction remotely, and I look forward to seeing what else we do remotely in regards to our inductions and our learning programs. And I think this is testament to show that COVID has given us that reality check that we've kind of needed, and we can be still 100% productive, because when you look at going into an office, you've got the travel, you've got the getting up for a cup of tea, the going to the toilet, the lunch, the having a quick chat with a colleague because of something that you've just encountered. Whereas at home, that is all working and all being productive in the company that you're working with. And the amazing stuff we're doing at Sure Trust is shown with us having that fully remote program and showing that we can still do that, and that is an opportunity to expand and explore that further.
Perfect. How about for you, Lisa, just briefly, what do you think? Would it have been better to have been in person? Would you consider the hybrid type approach moving forward? I mean, the fact that you pulled it off remotely in terms of pulling the program together in just a few short weeks really is a testament to good remote working. But what's your final thoughts?
Well, I moved from a position at the very start of the project of thinking this is impossible. We could never deliver a quality induction remotely. It's like, how on earth are we going to do this? To a point of, oh my goodness, we are doing it and it's working, hooray. But I agree with Kira. I think there is a middle road, and having that hybrid where if we were able to, but certainly the elements where it matters for people to be together, to bring them together. So when it comes to forming relationships and so on, being able to people meet in teams and do team building, and yes, do that in person. But for some of the training delivery, like the systems training, we got that down to a fine art and managed that very well remotely, because people were in smaller rooms, breakout rooms, smaller groups. So we had large cohorts, up to 60 people. Luckily, we had 4 trainers, so you could really break it down, break the groups down, and they could get the sort of the one-to-one attention that they needed. Doing that in a bricks and mortar type environment, I think, is actually more difficult. Whereas if you do it over Teams, it's just a matter of click a button, break up rooms, and people can still be in their pajama bottoms, very comfortable at home, and so on, and still learn without the inconvenience of having to travel. Because this contract is national; we're spread across a large geographical area.
Brilliant. Well, you heard it here first, that you can build a remote induction, which is really powerful, and be in your pajama bottoms with your dogs scratching at the door trying to come in. Thank you so much to Kira and to Lisa from Sure Trust for sharing with us their thoughts. And until next time, I'm Michelle Parry-Slater. Take care.